Alright, so in this video we're going to be discussing the basics of volume. So if you watched my last video, what I was trying to get you to understand is that when we're looking at volume of a right prism, so that means that when we take our base shape, so maybe it's like of a rectangular prism, I've got this base shape of a rectangle, and I basically keep stacking those rectangles on top of one another so that there becomes this height. And I'm keep stacking and stacking and stacking, and volume is really looking at the amount of space something occupies. So how much space it would take up in a room, or if you dropped your three-dimensional object into a tub of water, how much would it make the water level rise based on how much space that shape needs to occupy or take up. All right, so that's what we're looking for. And the way we find it is just taking that base shape and finding its area, and then taking that shape and that area and stacking it over and over and over so that it gets this height going up. And we just simply multiply the area of the base times the height of the prism. And that's our basic formula for volume. When we're looking for volume of a prism, it is area of a base, or area of the base, times the height of that prism. Okay? Now prisms, it means that you start off with whatever your basic shape is. So maybe I've got a rectangle lying down, and then all my sides coming up like this must be at a 90-degree angle to this thing on the base. So all the sides here meet the base at a 90-degree angle and go straight up. Okay, so that means that triangular prisms, cylinders, those guys all count as prisms because everything is meeting at a nice 90-degree angle. Really, we're just going to take this formula and solve for volume. So looking at this first shape, I've got a rectangular prism. You can see here it says the base area is 48 centimeters squared and the height of this prism is 4. And I've even labeled the base area in blue to show you here is what the base looks like. So finding the volume of the prism, I'm going to start off with my formula. Volume is equal to the base area times the height of the prism. And I'm just going to use HP for height of the prism. And the base area in this case is 48. The height of the prism is 4. So I'm going to go 48 times 4. And 48 times 4 is going to give me 192. And then we've got to figure out what to do with our units. So if you look here, centimeters squared, and then we're multiplying by centimeters, it's going to give us centimeters cubed. So volume is a measurement of how big something is in 3 dimensions. Because it has a length and a width and a height, it has 3 dimensions. When we were looking at surface area, it was centimeters squared because we were pretending to unfold the shape and see how much area each of the faces took up. But now that we're looking at volume, it's how much space does this shape occupy in a 3-dimensional world. So when we're talking about centimeters cubed, it's really meaning if I had a little cube that was 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, I would be able to fit 192 of these yellow cubes inside of this large rectangular prism. Okay, so that's what that centimeters cubed means, is it think about a cube that has dimensions 1 by 1 by 1. There would be 192 of them would be able to fit inside of this shape. Okay, so that's what we are looking at with volume, is all our units are centimeters cubed, or meters cubed, or millimeters cubed, or whatever it may be, cubed, because we are talking about how much space it occupies in 3 dimensions. Okay? All right, what about a cylinder? Well, nice thing is the formula doesn't change here, so it's still volume is equal to that base area times the height of the prism. And in a cylinder, the base area has to be the area of this circle. And I've colored it in orange to say here is our base area. The base area here is 50. The height is 5. So I go 50 times 5, and 50 times 5 is 250. And then for my units, I had millimeters and millimeters squared, so it becomes millimeters cubed because volume is a 3-dimensional measurement. What about a triangular prism? It says base area is 25 meters squared, and remember, triangular prism, the base has to be a triangle, so that's this triangle outlined in yellow here. Okay, so that's the base area. And the nice thing is, formula doesn't change. Base area times the height of the prism. Well, my base area here is 25. My height of the prism is 16. And 25 times 16, I believe, is 400. Last thing I need to do is put on my units. So the units are meters. So I'm going to put it as meters cubed. And remember, that's because it is a 3-dimensional object, and we are looking at finding how much space it occupies in 3 dimensions. So the exponent on our units is that 3. Now, this does work for any prism where it's a right-angled prism. So if I was to give you something like a hexagonal prism, where my base area is this hexagon, right? The same rules still apply as long as this is a prism where all these sides coming up off of the hexagon on the bottom there, as long as they are all meeting with that base at a 90-degree angle all around, this still follows the same rule. So the volume here is going to be the base area, I guess I'm going to write it backwards there, the base area times the height of the prism. So I still work from that same formula. Now here I said the hexagonal area is 78.5 centimeters cubed. So the hexagonal area being this space here that the hexagon, okay, I've got my space here that the hexagon is taking up in 2 dimensions, and then I'm stacking that hexagon on top of itself over and over and over and over till I get this height of 8 centimeters. So I'm going to take that base area of 78.5 and we are going to multiply by 8. And I should have pre-done this so that I knew what the answer was going to be. But why would we want a good video? Okay, so that is 628 centimeters cubed, and it's centimeters cubed because volume is a 3-dimensional calculation about how much space the shape occupies in a 3-dimensional world. That's really the basics of volume. It is that simple. So all your questions this week literally are take the area of the base, multiply it by the height of the prism. And we'll start off where I'm probably going to give you the area of the base for all of them, and we'll make it harder next week.